It's absolutely apptacular. The Subject Cinema Android app. Everything you need to be a rabid Subject Cinema fan. Subject Cinema, 3-Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, and Front Row 5 and 10. All right at your fingertips and available instantly. Plus, email and voicemail links, Facebook and Twitter hookups, Patreon support specials, and more is coming real soon. Don't just listen, app it. The all-in-one Subject Cinema podcast app. Android version available now at Google Play or on PNR Network websites. Amazon and iPhone apps coming soon. Don't delay. Download today.
Blueberry. This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Okay, another week into July, another week of great film festivals from earlier this year as we continue the Boston Springs A Festival coverage for 2018.
Yep.
Got a little few other odds and ends we'll talk about too here and there, I'm sure. And it's all coming up right here, right now. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Stick around, it's going to be fun.
Right here this week on Subject Cinema.
On air, online, on now. From the hub of the universe, Boston, Massachusetts, USA, this is Subject Cinema with your hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome TC and Kim.
Welcome to another edition of Subject Cinema, the oldest roots movie podcast on the internet. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I am Kim Brown.
Now in our 13th year, and we're happy, proud to be there.
Wow.
Subject Cinema number 611, July 15th, 2018.
Yep.
And you want to bring that up that you were just talking about?
Well, I was getting ready to do the show, and I was just noodling around on the internet, and I found...
Can you do that legally? Aren't they going to, be watching you for arrest you for noodling?
I don't know what noodling means in your sick, sad little universe, but...
Noodle.
I'm just bouncing around on the... I bounce around on the internet as I'm wont to do.
You're not calling them the interwebs anymore, huh?
Sometimes I do when I feel like being different and edgy and talking like the kids,
Oh, for Pete's sake. Anyway.
Today, back in 2006, was the debut of Twitter. So we're actually older than Twitter by a month.
So it was a month ago that the world started going to hell in a handbasket.
Oh, stop. No, don't, no.
12 years ago.
Stop.
13
Don't do
years
that. No,
12 years ago.
Do not be one of those people. We hate those people.
Well, yes, I know, but you are so addicted to Twitter, it's scary.
No, I meant those people that blame, this is the fault of, this is going to bring about the downfall of Western civilization and this and that and the other thing. We've both been on the...
You mean it's not?
We've both...
Oh, horrors.
We've both been on the receiving end of people telling us stuff that we like is, the ruination of civilization and warping kids' minds. And we have both stuck up both middle fingers in the faces of people who give that stuff to us. So don't become one of those people just because you're...
Yes. Can't wait to see how she gets out of this one. Yes.
I'm trying to think of the way to word what I want to say. Let me think. It starts with O, ends with R, and it has LDE in there too.
What?
That you're older.
Oh.
Don't turn into one of those, hey, you kids, get off my lawn people just because you're...
The president tweets more than I do, and he's 20 years older than me. Mm-hmm. Honestly.
Yes, but your spelling is better.
Well, I don't know if I go that far. Anyway, enough about Twitter. We just thought we'd bring that up, and you can subscribe to us on Twitter, by the way.
Yes, you can.
Platinum Rose R for you. And
Platinum Rose L at twitter.com.
Platinum Rose L. R?
Yep.
Platinum Rose R. That makes no sense. Platinum Rose L
Maybe
at
I was wrong about the spelling.
and
eCinemaOne
or eCinemaBoston TC or TKR1 if you're a music fan. I'm available on all of them. I'm usually on the Boston ID. So, we're on week 3.
Yes, we are.
As we continue our late coverage of the Boston Springs A Fethival season. This was supposed to happen in May. A couple months behind because of circumstances.
But better late than never.
Exactly. We're doing all the films that appeared at the Boston Film Festivals, running them down. Just giving you a quick overview of the different films that you can be watching for over the next year. Boston's festival circuit is always full of different types of stuff. We've talked about the all-documentary Salem Film Festival. Mm-hmm. So, caught myself, Salem Film Fest.
Yes.
Sorry.
Which we love.
Yep, and last week we spoke of the Irish Festival, and we spoke of the Underground Festival. Mm-hmm. This week, we're going to talk about a couple more of the niche festivals that are actually not as niche as you would think.
Nope.
Because they welcome everybody for all of them.
Yep.
One of them deals with LGBTQ lifestyles. It's called Wicked Queer. Was called the Boston LGBTQ Film Festival. It's the oldest film festival in Boston at 33 years. Mm-hmm. And also... one that's relatively new to the Boston area, but that also shows in several cities around the country each year. The ReelAbilities Film Festival, spelled R-E-E-L, Abilities, and that all talks about people, about movies with and people who are in the disability community. And we will talk about both of those festivals
when Subject Cinema returns.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
All right, Kristen, I am so excited that you've decided to do a podcast with me, but what are we going to do a podcast about? There's so many other movie podcasts. We got to do something original.
Well, I'm a big fan of Disney movies. What about something like that?
That's just kid stuff. What do we want to do that for?
Did you know that The Avengers is a Disney movie? Or that Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie?
Pulp Fiction is not a Disney movie.
It's technically owned by Miramax, which is part of Disney.
We are still going to talk about the Disney animated movies, though, right?
I thought you said that was kid stuff.
Well, I've got 2 kids. I got to be a good dad and stuff.
So be sure to subscribe to the Walt Sent Me podcast, where we discuss the various subsidiaries of the Walt Disney Studios, including the animated movies.
It's available on iTunes, Podomatic, and wherever you find great podcasts. And I swear, it's not kid stuff.
Subject Cinema.
Welcome back to Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
As we are talking about the Boston Springs A Festival season this year. And this first one we're going to talk about, we've actually been a couple of times to different features they've had over the years.
Yes.
Some really interesting stuff. And one of our best films of the year, a couple of years ago, we first saw at this festival. This year, I'm sorry, I got it wrong too in the intro. It's been around for 34 years this year, not 33.
Okay.
Wicked Queer, the 34th annual Boston LGBTQ Film Festival, celebrates alternative lifestyles in all manners, and it is one of these festivals that actually is totally encompassing, because unlike the ones we've talked about before, this one actually does take place partially in Boston, along with showings at the Brattle Theater in Cambridge, and a couple other cinemas too. I'm trying to the Paramount Center and Museum of Fine Arts in Boston.
Yep.
So we get a lot of them here. They always have an interesting mix of films. This is where we saw
Boy Meets
Girl. The first year we saw it, it was just blew our minds. If you didn't,
one of the most beautiful, touching, funny,
Should have been an Oscar contender, and it didn't get a wide enough release. Michael Welsh, Michelle Henley, terrific film.
And the fact that Michelle Henley is not a bigger star from this movie, or just from the fact that she is so frickin' talented, it's just annoying. It irritates me.
Honoree that year.
It irks me that she is not better known. It irks me a lot.
That was your best picture that year, too, wasn't it?
I believe so,
I think it was, and one of my best pictures of the year came from the LGBTQ Festival. Tom at the Farm, one of Xavier Dolan's films. And we saw...
Which I mean, I've actually seen Tom at the Farm finally, and for the most part, it is a very good film.
She hates the ending.
The end of this film makes me want to punch a wall, but it's a beautiful film, and Xavier Dolan is an amazing director, actor. Yep. He's king of the world. You win.
She couldn't come with me because it happened the week right after she first hurt her knee.
Yeah.
And she wasn't able to come with me.
Old football injury.
And then we also... Oh, yeah, right. And then we also saw Personas there a couple years ago. And
that was an experience.
This year there's been a lot of different stuff. I mean, they always have a wide-ranging slate of films, and it is one of the longer-running festivals in Boston. It ran this year from March 29th through April 8th, inclusive, and the only one that's longer is the Turkish Film Festival, and that's because they go for three weekends in a row. But it's interesting. We're going to run down the films they showed and talk a little bit about them, starting with the film that was their opening night film, A Moment in the Reeds.
Okay. Am I talking about this?
Oh, I thought you were.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I was introing it.
I'm sorry. Okay. Give me just 2 seconds to jump over there. And actually, while I'm getting that booted up on my computer, I'd like to talk about something real quick for everybody out there who's been listening to these podcasts, especially the film festival podcasts. And this is for serious. I'm not fooling around this time. I'm not joking around. When we talk about film festivals and you're thinking to yourself, man, I'd really like to go to a film festival like that, but I'm not gay, or I'm not disabled, or I'm not whatever.
You don't have
do
to
that.
be.
The one thing you have to be to go to all of these film festivals, there's only one thing you have to be: a movie fan. That's it. So don't...
Well, no, I would take that back. There is a second one you need to have for attending all this.
Yeah.
You have to be open-minded.
You have to be open-minded. Yes, that's true.
Because a lot of people who aren't open-minded are not going to get some of these niche festivals.
Let me rewind a tiny bit. You need 3 things to go to a film festival.
Now we're up to 3. Okay.
Yeah. No, you need to love movies. You need to have an open mind and a sense of adventure.
Yep.
So, like, if you don't paint yourself into a corner and think, oh, I shouldn't go to an LGBTQ film festival because I'm straight, or I can't go to something like ReelAbilities because I don't have a disability. Don't do that. Just go and enjoy yourself and have a good time. And
in all fairness, I'm sure atheists probably wouldn't involve a Christian film festival, enjoy a Christian film festival.
No.
But, there is a certain amount of open-mindedness you need to go to all of them. So
okay,
Boston
fine. That's fair.
That's
being fair. And you're being, you wouldn't see a vegan at an all-carnivore film festival or something like that. At least I hope you wouldn't, because you'd probably traumatize them or something.
Yeah,
Anyway, back to the movies. I'm reading this right off the website.
Yep.
A Moment in the Reeds is an intimate drama about the chance encounter of 2 men by a Finnish lakeside. Levi, who left Finland behind to study abroad, has returned for the summer to help his father renovate the family lake house. Tarek, a Syrian asylum seeker, has also been hired to help, and when Levi's father returns to town on business, the 2 men give in to their mutual attraction, spending a few midsummer days discovering one another. Among the first queer-themed feature films made in Finland, A Moment in the Reeds puts the long marginalized voices of sexual and ethnic minorities at center stage in a story about the search for freedom, acceptance, and a place to call home.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think that's really interesting because, we have enough things in this country where, you have people that have hang-ups about this, that, and the other thing, and we don't tend to think, well, other places, we tend to think that Europe and all those other places are so much more progressive and forward-thinking than we are.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that's apparently not true.
Not always.
No. Which is sad because, you should love who you love as long as everybody's legal and,
right.
has a pulse. I really don't...
Next up on the list, Bixa Travesty. It was the U.S. premiere here at the Boston LGBTQ Festival. Lynn Cabrera is a black trans woman from impoverished prairie urban Sao Paulo. She's a pop performer who raises her voice for queers of color from the favelas, accompanied by childhood friend and partner in crime, a black trans woman and singer named Yup Dubaro. Her concerts are nothing short of dazzling, and aided by exorbitant costumes and plenty of twerking, her performances are onslaughts of electro against Brazil's white heteronormative gender order and the machismo of the country's funk scene, presented in cooperation with the Roxbury Film Festival and directed by Claudia Priscilla and Kiko Goifman. This one got huge crowds involved. It is a documentary, by the way.
Also playing at Wicked Queer this year was El Algún Lugar, which tells this story. Writer-director Tadeo Garcia follows up his 2004 debut feature On the Down Low with a powerful love story set against the backdrop of the controversial U.S. immigration system. Both Abel, who works in Chicago social services, and Diego, an auto mechanic, have waited a long time for the love story they have yearned for. After several chance meetings, the two finally hook up and quickly fall deeply for each other. But Diego has been hiding a secret. He's an undocumented immigrant, and his repeated attempts to attain citizenship have led nowhere. When word reaches him that his mother is dying, Diego must decide whether or not to risk a trip back to Mexico, knowing he will jeopardize his chances of returning to America and to a future with Abel. And what will Abel do when he learns the truth? Can their love survive the dangerous choice the couple ultimately makes?
Also timely.
Very timely.
Yep. Next up at Wicked Queer was The Feels. One of the most critically acclaimed festival films this spring so far at a number of festivals. Andy and Lou are excited to celebrate their upcoming wedding with a joint bachelorette weekend in wine country. On the first night, the brides and their friends get wasted, and Lou admits to everyone that she's never had an orgasm. This admission comes as a complete surprise to Andy and derails the weekend in unexpected and poignant ways, causing everyone to reflect on trust, love, and their journeys experiencing their first orgasm. Co-presented by Boston Asian American Film Festival, which is happening later this year, and directed by Janae Lamarck. This got quite a bit of buzz at earlier festivals too, so it was one of the ones that really came in with an expected audience, and I think they got their money's worth.
Shakedown was also at this year's LGBTQ Festival. Shakedown was a series of parties founded by and for African American women in Los Angeles that featured go-go dancing and strip shows for the city's lesbian underground scene. Inspired by trans woman Mahogany, who, as the mother of the scene, presided over queer strip shows and balls for non-heterosexual audiences in the 1980s, Butch Ronnie Ron created, produced, and presented the new shows. In them, the largely female clientele from the hood slipped dollar notes into lap dancers' panties while celebrating lesbian sexuality to pulsating hip-hop beats.
Okay.
That's fantastic.
Paternal Rights is a first-person essay film that examines the secret underbelly, of a contemporary Jewish American family as they grapple with the after effects of physical and sexual abuse on their present-day lives. It is also a groundbreaking film about the nature of trauma and memory itself, the ways in which trauma encrypts in uncanny ways, the dysfunction of speech and narrative in the process of decryption, and the role of film and filmmaking in the practice of healing. Paternal Rights draws inspiration from podcasts like This American Life and Radiolab and the long lineage of LGBT essay filmmakers in the U.S. such as Jenny Olson, Marlon Riggs, and Richard Fung. Co-presented by Boston Jewish Film Festival and directed by Jules Roscom. It sounds fascinating.
Yep. The documentary Suzanne Barched on Top was also presented this year. I hope I even said your name close to correct, ma'am. A featured documentary exploring New York City culture through the influence of nightlife legend Suzanne Barched. Now, I don't know very much about New York life. I mean, I know New York nightlife never ends, and I know it's really, it can be excessive and crazy and stuff like that, but my attitude is if everybody's over 21 and having fun, who cares? So that's just how I feel.
Yep.
Also showing was Abu, and I will read that thusly. Arshad always knew he was different. Soon after emigrating from Pakistan to Canada with his family, Arshad realized he was gay. Merging clips from Bollywood films, animation, and home movies that capture awkward teen phases as well as significant life revelations, Arshad narrates his own cathartic journey alongside his entire family's. With charming lyricism and a dash of good humor, director Arshad Khan shares a deeply personal story of self-discovery and familial reconciliation as he explores the challenges that can threaten the bonds between children and their parents. Abu is an intimately open and dazzling visual memoir about the complex dynamics the filmmaker has had with his father, who was at once extremely modern and also rigidly traditional and unaccepting of his son's true self.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
1985 follows a closeted young man who goes home for the holidays, struggling to reveal his dire circumstances to his very conservative family. Obviously a narrative, directed by Yin Tan. Also, Berlin Drifters, which is another critically acclaimed film from other festivals. Koichi is a Japanese man living alone in Berlin. He has no job and hardly any friends. One night he meets Ryota at a bar, which is also a sex club. Ryota came to Berlin to visit a German guy who he had met on a dating app. His high hopes for romance and marriage were quickly crushed since the German was only interested in sex, not even letting Ryota stay for the night. That is why Ryota ended up spending the night in the dark room of the sex club. Mm-hmm. Co-presented by Boston Underground and directed by Imazumi Koichi.
Okay.
It's actually a German film despite its primarily Japanese cast.
Cool. Also shown was the narrative Porcupine Lake. During a hot and hazy summertime in northern Ontario, 13-year-old B wants a best friend more than anything else. But when she meets boisterous Kate, she gets more than she imagined. A story of bravery, small-town summer love, and the secret world of girls.
The secret world of girls?
Trust me.
Do they have a secret world?
Oh, honey, you have no idea.
The documentary To a More Perfect Union, U.S. versus Windsor, tells the story of love, marriage, and a fight for equality, chronicling unlikely heroes, octogenarian Edie Windsor and her attorney Roberta Kaplan, on their quest for justice. Edie had been forced to pay a huge estate tax bill upon the death of her spouse because the federal government denied federal benefits to same-sex couples, and Edie's spouse was a woman. Deeply offended by this lack of recognition of her more than 40-year relationship with the love of her life, Edie decided to sue the U.S. government and won. Windsor and Kaplan's legal and personal journeys are told in their own words and through interviews with others in the legal team, movement activists, legal analysts, well-known supporters and opponents. And because this, beyond the story of this pivotal case in the marriage equality movement and the stories behind it, the story also is of the journey as a people, a culture, and citizens with equal rights. So that's been a controversy for years. The fact that Massachusetts especially has been, gay marriage became legal in Massachusetts in 2004, if I'm not mistaken. And since that point, it's been our area of the country that has led the push from that and finally becoming nationally legal in 2015, 14 or 15.
This is one of these issues that, I don't know how to say this. This is one of these issues that shouldn't be an issue. These people are in love. These people consider themselves married. Why aren't they treated like what society considers a normal couple? Mm-hmm. It's disgusting and it's wrong that they're not.
It is. Also appearing, documentary that I still want to see. We did not get a chance to see it yet.
No.
The The Fabulous Alan Carr. Armed with a limitless Rolodex and a Benedict Canyon enclave with its own disco,
Don't they all have
Can
that?
I have that house? Alan Carr threw
You
the...
want Jackie Gleason's house, too.
I
Make
do
up
want
your mind.
I want one. That's on the East Coast. This is be on the West Coast.
Grabby pants.
Alan Carr threw the Hollywood parties that defined the 1970s. A producer, manager, and marketing genius, Carr built his bombastic reputation amid a series of successes, including mega hit musical Grease and Broadway sensation La Cage aux Folles, until it came crashing down after he produced the notorious debacle of the 1989 Academy Awards. We all remember the 1989.
Is that the one with Snow White?
Snow White and Rob Lowe singing to each other, and it was a farce beyond belief. I've always been
still
fascinated.
better than James Franco and Anne Hathaway hosting.
Yes, I've always been fascinated by Carr and his unique personality. Whenever I'd see him on TV in the 70s, he was a very funny and extremely gregarious producer. Mm-hmm. I don't think he was another Harvey Weinstein. And I have never heard anything bad about Alan. But he could be pushy for his clients and pushy for his projects.
Well,
and I enjoyed most of them. So it was something.
There's being pushy and there's being predatory.
Yeah, there is.
We know who that's directed at.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Rob Lowe and Snow White, still a better love story than Twilight. Kick. Also at Wicked Queer this year was White Rabbit. Recently single Korean-born LA artist Sophia Lee devotes herself to her public performance art, whether it's a provocative Korean perspective in the park on the LA riots or quirky digital art on social media. To pay the bills, she does odd jobs for TaskRabbit. When a filmmaker reaches out to discuss an acting role in his film, she is excited to explore the opportunity, only to realize he can't distinguish between her art and her real-life identity. Meanwhile, when a stranger makes Sophia late for a TaskRabbit gig, she loses her temper with her, only to run into her repeatedly and discover a strong connection. Sophia develops feelings for her, but it's unclear if her love is reciprocated. Reciprocated, that's a hard word. Played by performance artist Vivian Bang, who also co-wrote the screenplay with director Daryl Ween, Sophia is a delightfully refreshing character to watch. Emotionally open, curious, and unapologetic, Sophia's art is fueled by unfettered self-expression. Her insatiable thirst for meaning and experience would make anyone want to follow her down the rabbit hole in this quirky, deeply felt dramedy.
We should also tell you that it's not to be confused with another film called White Rabbit, which made its premiere at the Boston Film Festival 3 years ago. That was a horror film with Nick Krause as a star. I couldn't remember the name of it because we kickstarted that one. Queerorama is created from a treasure trove of archive, and it traverses a century of gay experiences encompassing persecution and prosecution, injustice, love and desire, identity, secrets, forbidden encounters, sexual liberation, and pride. With a soundtrack that weaves music and lyrics of John Grapp, Goldfrapp, Hercules, and Love Affair, with the images and guides us intimately into the relationships, the desires, fears, and expressions of gay men and women in the 20th century, a century of incredible change. I guess the name makes it seem like a pastiche of stuff. It's a documentary that is basically footage from classic stuff, a lot like Teenage was a few years ago. It sounds intensely interesting.
Yeah, it does. Hard Paint was also shown this year. Pedro earns a living in chat rooms. The image resolution may not be perfect, but when Pedro transforms himself into Neon Boy in front of the webcam, he still manages to create the desired impression. Slowly, this young man drips his fingers into pots of colored paint and glides them across his naked body. Glowing in the dark, Neon Boy follows his users' commands until he agrees to meet one of them in a private chat room for money. But things change when Pedro's sister Louisa moves out of their shared apartment and he notices that somebody is imitating his performances. He agrees to go on a date with his mysterious rival. This rendezvous will have far-reaching consequences. As with all of the previous films by directing duo Felipe Matzenbacher and Marcio Reolon, We find ourselves again in Porto Alegre in southern Brazil, where we encounter young queers in search of intimacy, community, and security. The elegantly interwoven visual images and protagonist stories may take us away from the real world, yet in actuality we remain in an increasingly homophobic Brazilian society to whose misfits this sensitive, affectionate portrait in 3 acts is dedicated.
That movie got incredible notices when it ran at the Berlinale
really
this year too. And it does. It sounds very interesting to see what it would be. The documentary Trans Youth is an intimate portrait, interwoven coming-of-age story of 7 trans young adults in Austin, Texas. Can you imagine how hard it is to be a trans male or female in Austin?
I could imagine.
Austin is an open community. It's probably the most open city in
that's what I was going to say.
But wow.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, I think it would be easier to be a trans person in Austin as opposed to anywhere else in Texas.
I would agree.
But I bet you it's not as easy as it should be.
Right.
You know.
Also, Mr. Gay Syria, another documentary, in focusing his attention on the competitors of Mr. Gay Syria, director Azai Toprak shatters the one-dimensional meaning of refugee. Using the pageant as a means for escape from political prosecution, organizer Mahmoud, already given asylum in Berlin, hopes to offer the winner a chance to travel as well as bring international attention to life-threatening situations being faced by LGBT Syrians.
Wow.
You don't really think of... This is the interesting thing, and one of the most interesting things about this particular film festival and other gay and lesbian film festivals across the country is that so many times, as Americans, we don't think of gay crises outside of America. We might recognize that, there's gay community has problems in, like, civilized Europe, like we think of civilized Europe, like the European Union members. But I'm sure if you brought this up to somebody about, I know there's Syria and all Muslim areas that have gay communities. Now even in Russia, where it's a crime.
Yeah.
And then in Africa.
Thanks, Putin.
Yeah. You got to be able to take a look at the underside of everything, and we start to realize it is a universal problem.
It is.
Not just in America.
No, unfortunately, homophobia...
It's getting better and better in America. But
unfortunately,
it really
homophobia is a disease that we haven't found a cure for, and unfortunately, there's still places in the world that you can be legally executed for being a gay person, and that is... I'm sorry. I don't mean
unthinkable. In this day and age, it's unthinkable.
It's barbaric. I'm sorry. There's, I'm not trying to offend anybody's faith or anything like that.
No, I mean, but I am a Christian. I don't have a problem with gay people. They are friends. We have a number of gay friends. I love them. I don't care that they're gay. It doesn't bother me at all.
It doesn't bother them that we're straight. Why should it bother me that they're gay and I'm Catholic?
They're just people. And they're happy. Yeah. That's all I care about.
Yeah. It's like, are they happy? Are they hurting anybody? No. Then shut up and stay out of their lives.
Right. Next up, public intimacy.
Give me a minute because I need to climb down off my soapbox.
Yes, I don't have my soundboard up yet because it's not finished yet, but...
Public Intimacy is a movie about how we deal with sexuality and love on public and private levels. The 4 stories of Public Intimacy deal with urgent and profound themes like homophobia, prostitution, transsexuality, and madness. Public Intimacy proposes a cinema that is focused on its characters. They struggle to become who they really are.
Yep.
If anybody figures out the secret to that, will you call me? Because I haven't figured out who I am yet either. So, there's that.
One of the major film releases that has already been seen.
I am so mad we missed this.
I know, and we still need to see it. It's actually on. We should watch it. Professor Marsden and the Wonder Woman talks about the unconventional life and relationships of Dr. William Moulton Marsden, Harvard psychologist, resident of Kim's hometown of Saugus, Massachusetts, and the creator of both The Lie Detector and Wonder Woman. It was out last fall, got marginal reviews, but I've always been interested in his story. I mean, here, this story explores themes of multiple relationships. It explores the heavily influences of bondage themes inside of the Wonder Woman comic book, and also
the themes in the Wonder Woman, the older Wonder Woman comic book, of loving submission, which is a term that they used a lot. Submission as a form of rehabilitation. Also looking at Professor Moulton's life, which he lived with his wife and their shared partner, who was another woman, which even now would get some people going, what? I mean, back then, you would have probably been run out of town on a rail.
Yeah.
And also, the thing about this film that I feel is really important is that it looks at the struggle that that he had trying to get Wonder Woman published, because the male-dominated comics industry only saw women in comics as someone to be rescued. You know, the idea of a woman as a heroine, as a strong, powerful figure that could take care of herself, that was completely revolutionary.
Oh, especially since that comic book also opened up the term Mansell in distress with Steve Trevor.
Yep.
So, okay. Also available, a movie called Daddy Issues, directed by Amara Cash. Maya, a 19-year-old queer pixie, gets involved with her sexually fluid insta-crush and unknowingly inserts herself into a twisted love triangle. I can remember that got a lot of positive notices on Twitter at that time. Also, there's Close Knit. After being neglected by her mother, a little girl is taken in by her uncle and his transgender girlfriend, who create a loving home for her. That was from Japan. It's animated, according to this, although I don't think it is. Nakayo Ogigami was the director on that. Beats Per Minute was also part of Wicked Queer this year. One of the most critically acclaimed films of last year,
In Paris, in the early 1990s, a group of activists goes to battle for those stricken with HIV or AIDS, taking on sluggish government agencies and major pharmaceutical companies in bold, invasive actions. The organization is ACT UP, and its members, many of them gay and HIV positive, embrace their mission with a literal life-or-death urgency. Amid rallies, protests, fierce debates, and ecstatic dance parties, the newcomer Nathan falls in love with Sean, the group's radical firebrand, and their passion sparks against the shadows of mortality as the activists fight for a breakthrough.
I think this is one of the best films of last year. It was up for a ton of Clotrudis Awards. It was up for all kinds of awards around the board and around the critic circles last year. Was one of the big films that they brought in, and it's most likely to be seen by everybody. You can get it on Netflix. It's out there. So if you haven't seen it, we still haven't seen it. Our time is so limited anymore. So we do try to get things in, and that's one we definitely should get in.
Yep.
Also, Die Beautiful came in on that same evening. About Trisha, a Filipino transgender woman who suddenly dies as she's being crowned in a beauty pageant. Her last wish was to be presented as a different celebrity on each night of her wake. Okay.
Well, you know.
Everybody has their little quirks.
I've heard worse. Feminista is another film from the festival this past year. Feminista is a feminist road movie. In 2015, Miriam Fougere, I hope I was close, joined a group of young activists who had formed a caravan to travel across 20 European countries, from Turkey to Portugal, by way of the Balkans to Italy, Spain, and Portugal. Revealing how this new breed of politicized women inhabit their personal lives, Feminista documents how a dedicated international group of young feminists traveled across miles and territories to unite forces with other women, fighting oppression, participating in local gatherings, supporting homegrown feminist activists. We watch face-to-face encounters and experience how understanding of local struggles can build alliances of support. Feminista is a journey to the heart of global feminism, a breath of solidarity. Feminista provides a rare glimpse into a widespread feminist movement, possibly one of the largest, least organized mass political movement in the world today.
Also,
good for them.
Huh? Yes.
Good for them.
Yeah, really. Also presented this year, My Life with James Dean, a drama from France, invited to present his first feature film, My Life with James Dean, in Normandy. Young director Gerard Champrot has no idea the film tour is about to change his life. From wild stampedes to woeful screenings, from trawler trips to drunken evenings, Gerard ends up finding inspiration in this unlikely town at the end of the earth. I don't remember seeing anything about that one, so I know it was out there, but that was all.
The same night Pinsky was playing. Sophia Pinsky is doing just fine. She has a job, an apartment, and a girlfriend. That is, until her girlfriend breaks up with her and her grandfather dies on the same day. As her life starts to unravel, Sophia moves back in with her overbearing Russian Jewish grandmother in the Boston suburbs. When her grandmother reveals that not only is she dating again, but she's in love with the family's rabbi, Sophia is pitted against her grandmother in a struggle to define loyalty and love, all while trying to become a real adult once and for all.
Yeah, that was co-presented by Boston Jewish Film Festival as well. M/M is one of this year's entries from Slamdance also. Wayward Canadian Matthew, crushed by the isolation of being new to Berlin, turns his sexual desires toward Matthias that spiral into a dark fixation of assumed identity, and soon a obsessive power struggle between the two careens toward brutal passion and violence in a bid for dominance. As I said, it came from Boston. It came from Slamdance, was co-presented by Boston Underground, directed by Drew Lint, and it got a lot of buzz when it was out there too.
Queercore, How to Punk a Revolution, played at Wicked Queer this year as well. I gotta be honest, the first time we ever heard the word queercore was during Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, and I was like, what the hell is queercore? And now I know. A documentary on queercore, the cultural and social movement that began as an offshoot of punk and was distinguished by its discontent with society's disapproval of the gay, bisexual, lesbian, and transgender communities. Interviewees discuss homophobia, gender, feminism, AIDS, assimilation, sex, and of course, art. The extensive participation list includes Bruce LaBruce, G.B. Jones, Genesis Breyer Peorage, John Waters, Justin Vivian Bond, Lynn Breedlove, Silas Howard, Pansy Davidson, Penny Arcade, Kathleen Hanna, Kim Gordon, Deke Ilash, Tom Jennings, Team Dresch, and many more.
It was Pansy Division, by the way.
Division, what did I say? Sorry.
Davidson.
Sorry. That's what happens when I read too fast. Sorry, my mouth gets ahead of my eyes.
Well, there's a lot there to read.
Sorry.
Also, the world premiere, this one actually, I would have liked to have tried to get to this, and we were unable to do so, but I really still have this on my list when I can get to it. The movie is called Liam. It's from Isidore Bethel. Just after Isidore moves to France to study filmmaking, his best friend dies back in the U.S. Through documentary performance and animation, a ghostly portrait emerges, prompting Isidore to question his relationship with his parents and his boyfriend in Paris. Isidore Bethel's film is a haunting meditation on loss, love, and the ability to move on in the face of tragedy. I'm really stunned that one didn't show up at Salem this year, too.
Yeah, actually, me too.
Also, The Poet and the Boy, another one that attracted my attention, from Kim Yi-heng. A poet in his late 30s who has spent all his life on Jeju Island lives off his sturdy wife, and despite his wife's constant nagging about his inability as a breadwinner, all he does is thinking about and writing poetry. But one day the poet meets a teenage boy working at a donut shop and helplessly develops feelings he's never had before. This is really kind of groundbreaking. It is from Korea. Korea has had issues with the gay and lesbian community over the years, and it's refreshing to see them come up with something that got such good critical notice when it came out.
Now, you mean South Korea?
South Korea, yeah.
That's really strange.
No, when I say Korea, it's South Korea.
Well, no, I didn't realize.
Korea,
I didn't realize that they had issues like. Wow, I didn't know that. This one I'm really sorry we missed because both of us actually have turned out to actually become fans of dancing programs.
Yeah. Me
a little bit more reluctantly than you. Hot to Trot. I love that title. I have to say I do love that title. The music, the spectacle, the grace, the costumes. Ballroom dance is enjoying a renaissance here in America as well as abroad, embraced by everyone from grandparents to grad students. Ballroom hoofing has even become a widespread competitive event dubbed dance sport.
Which you can see the finals of every year on PBS.
But there's one form of this storytelling in motion that's not seen in mainstream venues, same-sex couple dancing. Yet it, too, is surging in popularity, remaking lives and bodies along with popular culture and gender politics.
Well, they've actually done some same-sex dancing on other countries' editions of Dancing with the Stars or Strictly Come Dancing, whatever it's known as in that country.
Because the celebrity that was dancing is out.
Yeah, and they actually first talked about it with
in this
with
country.
Lance Bass, and then they got cold feet. So it's
they were going to actually.
They've had cold feet a number of times since then.
Yeah, they were actually going to do it until the people that watch Dancing with the Stars for the most part, Kansas.
And a restored copy of the iconic new queer cinema classic Edward II was also aired this year at LGBTQ. Derek Jarman offers a postmodern take on Christopher Marlowe's Elizabethan drama. Pleasure-seeking King Edward II sets the stage for a palace revolt by taking as a lover the ambitious Piers Gaveston, who uses his favor in bed to wield political influence, sending the gay pair from the throne to a terminal torture dungeon. This landmark of gay cinema features an incredible performance from Jarman Muse and Oscar winner Tilda Swinton as Edward's spurned Queen Isabella, and a rare film appearance by singer Annie Lennox. I don't know, it's not that old, so I'm surprised that they had to restore it already. But it was, it doesn't air very often, so that was a big thrill for the festival.
We've reached the closing night, and we should say also there were a lot of shorts programs and streaming videos and things like that. So that's also cool too. We wish we could talk about every single one of them. Anchor and Hope played on the closing night. Eva and Kat enjoy a carefree existence on their houseboat on a London canal until Eva's dream of becoming a mother is reignited by the death of their pet. Kat just wants to get a new cat. But when Kat's best friend Roger visits from Barcelona, they decide in a moment of drunkenness that he can be Eva's sperm donor. But what are the consequences for the lesbian couple, the biological father, the child, and their relationship with one another? Oh, I can't see anything going wrong with this. Oh, no, wait, I can. Absolutely everything.
Also appearing after the official closing night film was Article 18, which is a documentary about the Article 18 of the Polish Constitution, talking about the protection of marriage as a union between a man and a woman, and this fact has been used as a weapon by those in Poland who are opposed to formalizing same-sex unions. This is continuing to go ongoing overseas, as we mentioned a few minutes ago. Also, The Ring Thing, which was a film about relationship and commitment. Sarah accidentally proposes to her girlfriend in Provincetown and finds herself at odds with her partner's expectations of the future. And finally, GTFO was the actual final film series. It was a short series along with several others. So as you can see, there are a variety of different types of programs offered by Wicked Queer, the Boston LGBTQ Film Festival. And every year, they're worth checking out just because you never know what they're going to bring in. And the films they often show are often thought-provoking, interesting in ways that you don't expect them to be.
Yep.
I mean, going into Boy Meets Girl, we weren't quite sure what to expect with that.
No.
We knew Michael Welch was the star. We went to support him. It was his latest film, and came out thoroughly in love with this wonderful story of a transgender boy and a transgender boy now transitioning to a girl named Ricky and her best friend.
Yeah.
And it was a brilliant film.
We came in supporting Michael because we love Michael. He's awesome.
Yeah.
We came out still supporting Michael. I came out in love with Michelle. I came out completely in love with Michelle Handley.
And we had the pleasure of meeting her and another co-star at the screening, which was really something.
Yep.
We definitely urge you to check out local festivals like the Boston LGBTQ in your area.
Definitely
and
do
when
that.
we come back, we will head to a different festival, the Boston edition of the ReelAbilities Film Festival.
When Subject Cinema returns.
T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema.
Want to know what new films are coming out this weekend? Hi, I'm T.C. Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out 3 Minute Weekend, our weekly roundup of all the new films hitting U.S. theaters each weekend. We've got the 411 on all the new blockbusters, indies, and video on-demand choices for you each week. 3 Minute Weekend, every Friday morning from Subject Cinema and eCinemaOne.com, a PNRNetworks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service.
Movies. Subject Cinema.
Hi guys, we're looking at all kinds of festivals all over Boston here on Subject Cinema this week. I'm Kim Brown.
I'm T.C. Kirkham, and for the next month, throughout July, we're looking at all the Boston Springs A Festival festivals and bringing you films and stuff therein. And another film festival it seems unique, but it's actually not, is a film festival that focuses on films about and people with disabilities. This film festival is called the ReelAbilities Film Festival. It runs in a number of cities across America. Each city carries a different lineup of films. Some of them are the same and others are not. And this one is also unique in the fact that it goes all over the state. Technically, it's a Boston Film Festival, but there are screenings in Springfield and a few other places during the week and a half it is in. And it's an interesting festival because it looks at both people who have disabilities in documentaries and films that focus on a narrative on disability characters. And it's just a really interesting festival. It opened this year with Unrest, a documentary about Jennifer Bray. Jennifer Bray is a Harvard PhD student who had a taste of adventure, married to the love of her life, when suddenly her body began to fail her. She started filming her darkest moments, chronicling her journey, including her diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome. And as she searches for answers online, Jennifer connects with other CFS sufferers across the globe and films their stories as well. A very personal documentary that asks us to examine the stigma associated with an illness that affects millions and still has no cure. It was nominated. It was on the short list for nominations for the Oscars in 2017. We should bring up that most of the films that air at this festival are films that have come out previously. So you may have seen them. You can find them online. You can find them at Amazon and Netflix. So if any of them strike your attention, please take a chance and watch them.
One of those could be the film that I'm going to talk about right now, and that would be director Len Collins' film from Ireland, which is called Sanctuary. Larry and Sophie are in love. Larry has Down syndrome and Sophie has severe epilepsy. With the help of their care worker, Tom, they sneak away to a hotel room during a supervised trip to the movies. While Tom is distracted with Larry and Sophie, the group gets restless and sets out on their own adventures, shopping at the mall and pints at a pub. Sanctuary is a truly subversive piece of cinema about two young people trying to be together in a world doing everything to keep them apart.
And it's received raves around the country and around the world, actually. It's Not Yet Dark, which also was presented by the Irish Film Festival as well, is the this story has been making the rounds since Sundance a couple years ago. Soon after the premiere of his first short film at Sundance, director Simon Fitzmaurice, who's a 34-year-old Irish filmmaker, was diagnosed with ALS. Despite suffering complete physical incapacitation, Fitzmaurice drew strength from his desire to create film and directed his first feature, My Name is Emily, using only his eyes. We talked a little bit about this last week when it aired at the Irish Film Festival. Narrated by Colin Farrell, the film transports us into Simon's creative world on a journey of self-realization and triumph. It is one of the most critically acclaimed films of 2017 and just has raves since it first appeared.
Yep. Keep the Change is a narrative directed by Rachel Israel, a rom-com set in a world where no character is typical. David is obsessed with being perceived as normal, thanks in parts to his parents. When David is forced to attend an autism support group, he meets Sarah, who exudes positivity and confidence. But when Sarah goes home to meet David's family, their romance is challenged. Keep the Change's cast includes actors on the autism spectrum.
It does, and Keep the Change is now in theaters nationwide right now. Also, at ReelAbilities Boston this year was Stumped, a documentary. After Boston University professor Will Lautenheiser was diagnosed with a life-threatening bacterial infection, doctors were forced to amputate his arms and legs to save his life. Over time, Will learns to cope through stand-up comedy. When he heard of an experimental transplant surgery, he was determined to take part, and the documentary chronicles 4 years of Will's life as an amputee as he became the third patient to undergo a double arm transplant at Brigham and Women's Hospital here in Boston.
Thank You for Your Service is a documentary that I really wish didn't have to exist.
And this is actually not to be confused with the narrative of the same name that came out a year later.
I really wish that they didn't have to make documentaries like this. I really do, because it breaks my heart. With 20 veterans dying by suicide every day, the United States military faces a mental health crisis of epic proportions. Tom Donahue's documentary focuses on 4 Iraq War veterans who, like thousands of others, are struggling with PTSD. Thank You for Your Service takes aim at the failed mental health policies with the U.S. military and the barriers to receiving proper and effective care and treatment. Donahue explores why the military was not prepared for the impact of combat in Afghanistan and Iraq on our service members, the lessons forgotten from past wars, and the need for wide-scale reform.
That has been one of the most critically acclaimed films of its type this last year. So is Swim Team. Swim Team actually showed last year at Salem, too. Swim Team follows the Jersey Hammerheads, a truly unique competitive swim team comprised of diverse teens on the autism spectrum. The film follows the extraordinary journey of the team and their families as they practice and compete at the regional and state levels. As they navigate daily struggles both in and out of the pool, the Jersey Hammerheads will have you cheering from your seats. This has been on. I have no excuse for not seeing this film yet. It has been on my list for a year, and I remember the raves it got coming out of, I believe it was Slam Dance in 2016. This film is actually 2 years old.
Like other film festivals, there are also short programs with ReelAbilities, and we wish we could get into those as well, but unfortunately,
we will when you see the PDF
limits.
later.
The final film, closing night film at ReelAbilities this year was Off the Rails, directed by Adam Irving. It is a documentary. The remarkable true story of Darius McCollum, a man with Asperger's syndrome, whose love of transit has landed him in jail 32 times for impersonating New York City bus drivers and subway conductors. Although Darius has never damaged any property or hurt anyone in his decades of service, he remains imprisoned in Rikers Island in New York. Darius' story embodies the criminal justice system's failure to channel the passions of a mentally challenged man into a personal life.
Purposeful.
I said purposeful.
No, you said personal.
Oh, purposeful. I'm sorry. That's a hard word, too.
It is, too.
Because right now, just reading this has got me so blankety blank angry
we haven't seen this yet either, and we definitely want to.
I
it's
can't
one
even
of these
talk
films
right now. I'm so angry.
That and also, when you have someone who has a compulsion, Asperger's is primarily made up of routines.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people who suffer from Asperger's feel more comfortable with a regular routine,
right.
and they are capable most of the time of having a regular, normal life. But sometimes that routine gets out of its sync, and that's what happened with Darius. And I'd be fascinated to see that. Another movie that deals with that is Stand Clear of the Closing Doors, which was my 2014 or 2015 Best Picture. It's a terrific film, and also showed at ReelAbilities a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
ReelAbilities Film Festival, in addition to Boston, shows in New York, San Francisco, and other cities. All of them have different, as I said, some of them have similar films, but there's usually a unique lineup of other films in each area.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely something that you want to check into. As I said, here they make it available to everybody, in addition to the normal places, like the Bright Family Screening Room, which is at Arts Paramount at Emerson College in downtown Boston. They also have screenings at a couple of the universities, at the Museum of Science, here at the Revere Cinema, Showcase
Mm-hmm.
Cinema,
Mm-hmm.
Somerville Cinema, Newton's Jewish Community Center. This year or last year they went to Cambridge, to Springfield. It must have been last year. And Lexington at the Cotting School. It's designed to inspire, and that's what ReelAbilities is all about.
Definitely.
There have been some other great films over the last years, ones we have seen, including The Crash Reel, the story of Kevin Pierce, snowboarder Kevin Pierce, which you've never seen. You really should, and a number of others. Check for your local area to see if ReelAbilities comes there. It's definitely an eye-opening and often uplifting and enlightening experience.
The best movies! Subject Cinema!
Want to know what top titles from film and TV are hitting home video this week? Hi, I'm TC Kirkham of Subject Cinema, inviting you to check out Tuesday Digidex, our weekly roundup of all the new home video releases in the U.S. each week. Whether it's DVD, Blu-ray, or streaming you're looking for, we've got it covered. Tuesday Digidex, every Tuesday morning, from Subject Cinema at eCinemaOne.com, a PNRNetworks podcast powered by Libsyn. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast service.
We probably can't cover the thousands of films made every year, but it's sure a lot of fun to try. Subject Cinema.
As we continue through our Boston Springs A Fethival, there are also, in addition to festivals, there are some film series that go on. Next week, we're going to take a look at the Boston Turkish Film Festival. This is one of the, they do gangbusters every year, not just their films, but their cultural festival, which goes on at the same time. We're also going to touch on the Boston International Film Festival and the two major film series that happen in Boston in the springtime. The spring edition of The Dockyard, which also runs in the fall. It's all documentaries, all previously released that are coming to town again. And the Belmont World Film series, which runs at Studio Cinema in Belmont every Monday, usually for 3 or 4 months.
Yep.
3 or 4 months. 2 months, 3 or 4, like 8 to 10 weeks. They always bring in amazing films and sometimes have like little things going on with it, like a dinner of ethnic food that goes with that week's movie or whatever. It's something special that happens. It's one of those little tiny special things that the festivals do here in Boston. We're also going to have reviews upcoming of several films that are planned. We're both kind of masochistically looking forward to Mamma Mia. Here we go again.
Yeah.
This coming week.
I really want to like this movie. I really, really do. But there's like 80% of my brain going, this is a cash grab, and you know it is.
Yeah.
And there's 20% going, but
the first single is available if you care to listen to if you care to check out my music site, thekirkhamreport.com. Go over to the Kirkham Report's Radio Hits, and the first single from the movie, Fernando, performed by Cher and Andy Garcia. is running. You can hear a lot more than that. And the Kirkham Report's Top 20 debuted this week. And my top 20 songs every week, and it'll be part of the larger chart that also is debuting this weekend.
Yep.
Over at thekirkhamreport.com. We also do other shows as well.
Yeah. We have I have two smaller shows that are solo shows. I have Platinum Rose's Garden, which is my supernatural podcast. You can go check out this past season's episode reviews over at PlatinumRosesGarden.com. And I also have Ring Around the Rosie, which is my wrestling podcast.
Now available on iTunes and everywhere.
Yes. Which you can also listen to at ringaroundtherosie.net. I have Raw and SmackDown results up, and this week I'm looking...
a topic every week.
Yeah, I have a different topic every week. This week, I try and be kind of fun and goofy and wacky on my show, but, this week I did get a little bit serious. It's a very serious discussion that I do try and look at both ends of and give both sides a fair shake. I hope you will go check it out.
Yep. Plus, I've got my solo show, Catastrophe Vortex. It was supposed to be back last Monday, but circumstances prevented it. It will be back this Monday, day and date, July 16th, with my take on the Towering Inferno, and Kim will give her take on Subject Cinema here in a week or two. And I apologize for being a week late. It couldn't be helped. Also, we unfortunately ended up skipping Front Row 5 and 10 this week, again, to circumstances. Commuting is a problem sometimes up here. We didn't get home till really late one night. On Thursday, and we didn't get a chance to get it up there. Plus, we went out to dinner. That didn't help any. But it was Max
Well, it
Brenner.
helped us because it was Max Brenner, which is awesome.
So it will be back this coming week with our top 10 British television shows.
Yep,
Is that what
our
we're
top
doing?
10 favorite British TV shows.
And that'll be fun. Plus, we also invite you to check out our fellow members of the PNRNetworks family, Eric and Valerie Lyon at Cavebabble, currently on hiatus, but all of their 200-plus shows are available, and they're all worth listening to at cavebabble.com. And Aunt B's Comic Grotto, Aunt B's... Nerd Grotto, now available at comicgrotto.com and also on his YouTube channel, which is also where you see the Kirkham Report. And don't forget our mini shows during the week. Friday is a 3-minute weekend, all the latest U.S. theatrical releases, and Tuesday Digidex, running down all the latest home video releases, also available at eCinemaOne.com. We have a number of new projects in the works, including one that will be our follow-up to Manhattan Hammerdown as it happened, available at manhattanhammerdown.com. It is our feature-length narrative, dramatic narrative of what happened in New York the night Clover came to town.
Yep.
So definitely check it out at manhattanhammerdown.com. It's also available on our YouTube channel, and we'll have a new show sort of like that coming up later this year. Plus, we have a few new shows we're looking at to do too. So anyway, we hope you'll be around and check everything out, and check out the websites also at eCinemaOne, eCinemaBoston. I'm trying to get more and more stuff up on all the time, and don't forget. One thing that's most important about everything is liking our show wherever you listen to it, whether it's on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud. Like the show. Second, spread the word. Tell people we're here and tell people you like it. If you're listening on YouTube or watching our YouTube shows, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to click the notification button so that little bell, ting, that will let you know when we have new stuff up. Because we load all of our shows onto the YouTube channel, you get everything, not just the distinctive video show like the Kirkham Report. You're also getting all of our podcasts. So sometimes YouTube is where you need to be. Go over to YouTube and click on the notification. You'll know every time we have a new podcast up. But we also encourage you to continue to listen and subscribe and tell everybody we're out there. Share, please. Share is a good thing. Yep. I know she's had tons of plastic surgery, but still... Oh, wrong share. Sorry. Anyway.
Remember what I said before about your spelling? I take it back.
And don't forget, we can always use your help. All of our projects are definitely needing funding, so please become a Patreon patron at patreon.com/PNRNetworks. We'll have more on that as we go through. Lots of changes going on over there. I'm going to go on a rant about crowdfunding next week. And something came up this weekend that really kind of irritated me, and I want to talk about it next week. I may talk about it midweek at some point on something else. We'll see.
Okay.
So anyway, I think that's going to do it.
I think so, too.
Well, let's go on festivaling out of here. For Subject Cinema, I'm TC Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be butter.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
And may you always enjoy your local festivals.
Definitely.
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema theme performed by Eric Lyon. Subject Cinema is recorded and produced using Sony Vegas products. Subject Cinema is copyright 2018 by PNRNetworks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema, and we'll see you at the movies.
That's all.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.